boom, and I'm back. And yes, I'm still working on music, and I'm still going to make like really, I guess, structured content on this channel. But for right now, I kind of like this vibe where I can just talk unfiltered and not really worry about editing and you know general presentation and having to throw out you know all these like you know big dictionary words. I can just talk and not really care about anything. But this little diddly right here is about uh the people that I knew in high school, and I wouldn't call them friends anymore because they probably weren't friends in the first place. uh they're now just, I wouldn't even call them acquaintances. I would just say that they're just people that I knew. Even though I did put acquaintances in the description, whatever, it doesn't matter. Um, Essentially, this is what happened in the beginning of this year, 2018. And essentially, it was the thing that actually pushed me. Actually, it pushed me harder to work on myself and actually, it solidified my my personality and it raised my confidence. I don't know how that is, but it happened like that, and it was so quick. It was very, very quick. And so essentially, I keep saying essentially because I want to be understood. Because at the end of the day, when I'm dead and gone, I would at least want to show the world or whoever wants to see who I was, like me naturally speaking without any filter or editing. Any filters or editing. It's a big pimple. Oh my god, whatever. This is real life. But so in the beginning of the year, I was coming back and trying to, I guess, reconnect with people around from my high school in the region of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Small town, and I was basically, it, you know, trying to just be be like friends with I don't know. I just wanted to see how their lives were going, honestly. But there seemed to be a distance and an opinion already formed because throughout my whole high school career, career, throughout all of high school, they would like definitely make fun of me, on the down low, in my face, and it was here and there, and I took it because I wanted friends, but like, man, like, I don't know, it's kind of came to a point at this time where I came back a completely different person, and some of them were like, one girl was essentially like saying like, "Oh, so you're really an actor, you're really doing it," and I'm like, "Yeah." What did you expect me to do? Like fail? Like, did you just want me to fail or something? Like, it's so confusing. But obviously, there was an opinion that I wasn't really gonna do much in my life, and it was comfortable for me to still be that happy-go-lucky guy who, you know, occasionally. made people laugh and joked around, and they could like poke at me from time to time when they wanted to. And so, you know, I came back a completely different person, and so I don't think they liked that. So I definitely felt that like that they were kind of upset, and like they were like, "Oh, you changed." Most of them were like, "You changed," but I've already went through like a whole theater program, and I got a bachelor's degree. And I was successful, and of course I would change. Of course I would even improve. It's not it's not that I came back changed, it's that I actually improved. And I don't know if they like that. I don't think they did. But I think that just explains the back history of it. So, beginning of this year, there's like one of my friends who moved away from to the other side of the country, who went back to this part of the country in Virginia to have a basketball game, and he wanted to hang out and stuff. Not have a basketball game, to watch one in DC. And so this is the situation. I'm going to explain it very simply, because logically you would think that this situation is like kind of clear cut in anybody who would hear the story would probably. I'm actually, you know what, never mind. I'm gonna say the story, and then you whatever, just you decide for yourself if whatever you think is gonna be whatever you think. All right. So there's a guy. He is from European descent. He has also a mixture, probably a small mixture of Native American in him. All right. So this guy is predominantly Caucasian and probably identifies as Caucasian, whatever. So this guy who's within Fred, this is not the guy who's going over back to Virginia, the long lost friend. This is the guy who's there within my immediate circle of people that I'm talking to. This guy constantly feels like he can say the N word. Now, even before I got back to Virginia, or that part of Virginia, Fredericksburg, I stopped saying the N word because, like, I got tired of like the the hypocritical nature of saying a racial slur about myself, and then you just see a lot of things, and it's like a lot of ignorance, and it gets tiring, man. So like, so he says it a lot because he listens to rap, and so does everybody else within the group. And with most people who do listen to rap, of course they say the N word, and it's like, they say it jokingly with the A, like, "Hey man, like, what are you talking about?" Like, stuff like that. I'm not gonna say it, but you get the gist. And I came back to Fredericksburg with him still saying it, but this is me changed. So I started to actually have a problem with it, because it's like, how is the brown guy not wanting to say the N word? And how is the guy how's the Caucasian guy saying the N word? And it seems weird, right? It seems like flip flop completely. And I'm the wrong one. I'm the wrong one. It's like, what? It doesn't make any sense, man. But he's not even black, and but you know what? Usually what happens is that once you're in a friend group, and basically you get around a certain lingo, and it becomes okayed, everybody gets used to it and everybody starts saying it also, you feel like you can do it. And that's literally what happened in that situation. Happens. Whatever. But that explains this guy. Let's name him uh, B Man. Let's name him B Man. All right, so B Man has that going on for him. Let's say the S Man. Let's call him Serbia Man because he's from Serbia. This guy also says the N word, but it's like after that point, it gets like annoying because that's what he was doing in high school, and we were all like young guys, and it's like we're young. Of course, we're not gonna be the best speakers. We're not gonna have the best moral code. We're young people. All right. But now this is all of us are post college. And if you're still saying that, still keeping that lingo, it makes me wonder like, are you gonna stay like this forever, man? Like, this is the only place you can say that. You know that, right? But the the funny thing about this whole situation is that the in all the friend group, in the whole friend group, I was the only black guy. I was the only black guy. Everybody else was. It's like an international group. There's like a Hispanic guy, a guy from Morocco, guy from like an African country. Like I'm the only one who's black, and it's like I'm the only one who finds it wrong that everybody's saying the N word. And they're all saying it. It's like you got these guys from Europe and like it's like you get it's like it's funny. It's like a Chappelle show. It literally is like a Dave Chappelle show skit, literally in action. But let's say Serbian Man comes back and he meets up with uh, B Man, and before they're talking, and you know, at first Serbian Man was like, "Hey man, I'm coming to the area. We can hang out and shoot a movie or something." And I'm like, "Cool," because that's what I want to do. And after like a good 3 days, I text him. He's like, he doesn't want to do it anymore. And it's like, oh, something's changed. Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry. It's cool. You can listen to it later or something. Oh, you're listening to it, or you can't listen to it. That's fine. But essentially, like I keep saying essentially again, I think they had a better friendship or a different friendship that because they went to the same college and they were around the same college and they visited each other and they went on trips together. And I was in a different school at Old Dominion University. It's in like the most southern point of Virginia. And I'm completely away from everybody except one friend. So instead, from that one friend who I still call a friend, you know, everybody else has started to become a little bit more estranged. And so these guys are hanging out more. And so, when they came back, Serbia Man, B Man, they're like, they're kind of tight, right? And so there's a party, and I come there because it's Serbia Man's birthday. And like essentially I come up to him and he doesn't want to even acknowledge me. And I realized the situation immediately. Like it happened immediately. And this is why I say it's in them like betraying me in this way, I actually gain more confidence. I was like, okay, so be it. That was my disposition. After a while, I was like, so be it, man. This is what it's gonna be. Because before with B Man, for some reason, he had it was like the most stupidest Twitter drama. I responded to one of his tweets. I called him out on something, and he got mad. He took it so personally, and it's like I guess I guess I never should have called out your wrongdoing or not. It was kind of messed up. It was just messed up, honestly. If you But I'm not even gonna explain that. It was just it was just funny to me. Honestly, it was funny to me at first, but he took it wrong. So be it. That was another so be it. And so, all right. So now, you know, Serbian man, he's not really feeling me anymore. After we were like friends for like we were like this, but now we're like and it's like okay, well, I guess that's the end. But later they're like, oh well, we want to go to a basketball game, like I said before, and they weren't Serbian man wanted to invite B man, and they want to all go to this basketball game in DC. But there's a dilemma. There is a dilemma. um, they want to get 4 seats, right? But one seat, uh, they didn't have money for, and so it seems that they had to pay. We had to pay like hundreds. They had to pay $165 for to get all 4 of these seats together. It had to pay one person had to pay $165 for it, and Serbia man and B man, they wanted to like hang out, and there's another guy, and that was gonna be me. And I said, okay, well, I'll pay it. I didn't really care. I honestly didn't care. And Serbia was like, okay, B man can like Venmo you or something. And I was like, no, I don't care to be paid back. I can make that money back. It doesn't really matter. What I said was that all he has to do is stop saying the N word. That's all I said. And you want to know what happened? Do you want to know what happened? B man dropped. he didn't want to. He didn't want to go to the game anymore. And I guess that was a condition that he didn't want to do. He didn't want to accept. And so it's like, okay. And so it was so funny. I realized like there's so much there's so much hypocrisy happening that it was not even worth like not even worth talking about anymore, acknowledging. So they just like it. I just didn't really care about it anymore. And so uh, somebody else had to go, and so you know, some other guy from Africa, our African friend came in, and so this is this is where everything starts to happen and things start to get a little messy. All right, I already know the situation was like, you know, a little tense, but I didn't know how tense it was. And so when I pick up my African friend, he he has like a little bit of just a tad bit of like an opinion about what I said and what I did and my conditions. Just a little tad bit of an opinion. I sensed it as I was driving us to the stadium. I was like, okay, I'm starting to understand the situation. Everybody is like blaming me about this. condition and they're upset about the condition. But it doesn't really seem like that big of a deal, honestly. But they're taking it as such, so I'm like, okay, well, you can't do anything about it. So be it. And so we go, and I go to the stadium. Serbia, man, distant. I assess it, and I'm like, well, I guess that's the end of the friendship forever. And I say, so be it. And I don't really care. I watched the game. The game wasn't that good. What you if you think of watching a basketball game is pretty exciting, you're really wrong. It looks like a bunch of guys having a pickup game on a street court, and the only difference is that you're in a stadium looking down at them, and sometimes somebody does a dunk, and you're like, "Oh, that didn't really look that. They didn't look that crazy to me now. It seems pretty lackluster. I can't get excited." It was like, "Oh boy, this is terrible. This kind of sucks." But it was exciting because it's like, who's gonna win? And that's the excitement. And so I think they, I think they, I think they did win. I don't know. I don't know the team. I don't remember the. I don't remember if it was the Wizards. I don't know if the Wizards won or not. Whatever, doesn't matter. That's apart from this. What happens? And so after this, the game, everybody's kind of acting aloof, and now everybody's kind of like grouping me out, and talking. And this is like a long game, and I'm on the end here of this four-seater, and they're all just kind of having their own conversation. And so I'm like, already, I'm right next to them, but I'm just left out for a good hour watching this basketball game. And in that time, I was like, yeah, yeah, this is it. This is really it. But something else happens. So, you know, leave the game. They they sneak diss me some more because they're like asking me if I was coming, and I gave like a obvious joke answer where they took it like seriously. And the second I go to another friend's house, they repeat that joke answer back to me, and I catch that, and I'm like, oh, I see. There's even more here with everybody. Now everybody's in on it. Now everybody's kind of like, oh, Marcus Bell, you're naughty naughty. You're doing wrong, man. And then again, I say, so be it. So after that point, because my oh my god, I'm sounding like EBZ again. Mind you, uh, this whole time within this whole period, they're like they're ragging on me about my diet, and like I'm keeping my diet, and I have like an intense diet of just protein powder, MCT oil, and that's it. And they're upset about it for some reason. But I'm losing weight, and I'm feeling better, and the only reason why I'm actually doing that intense diet, because they never asked, was because a year before, when I was in a theater internship and I didn't have enough money to survive, and I was only eating rice every day, even though I was working 8 hours, I was getting terrible pay, you know, my fault, but I became malnourished, literally. And I was so skinny, and I was so afraid for my health. And I knew I needed a change. And I knew I needed just like a constant level of healthy food every day, a bunch of protein so I can rebuild my body up again, my immune system up again. And I was getting better, and like all of that. But you know, they never asked me why I would do such an intense thing. So it's like, why would you even explain yourself, really? You know, it's not like you get. And then after that moment, I gained a bunch of weight, and then I gained a little bit too much weight, and then I had to like cut back because, I didn't want to get any type of like, because I was eating so much, and I was like, because I was emotionally distressed and a bunch of stuff. So, you know, I needed to take care of my health. I was taking care of my health, and it was working, but all I was getting was criticism. So during that time, going back to this friend's house, more criticism for the diet. And it's like, wow, you guys are great friends. Yeah, this is amazing. My health is improving, and then you guys are criticizing me for getting healthier. Wow, that's amazing. What are you gonna do? Nothing. You're not going to do anything about it. That's why I said at this point, I was like, so be it, whatever. And then my disposition, and this is also why I say my confidence level rose because I knew what I was doing was working. And if I'm just getting criticism and I'm getting positive results for myself, so be it. I'm gonna just continuously become better as a person, and that's all that's gonna be. But I just let go. I just kind of let go and start talking like I normally do. Like I'm not gonna hold back anything. I'm just joking around and talking, and I'm having fun at this point. It's like amazing because before I even got there, they smoked weed, and it's like, wow, look at all the guys like harpooning me with like, oh, you should, you're intense, you don't need to be doing all this intense stuff, and all of a sudden they come out high from smoking weed. It's like, all right, who's doing better for their health right now? Who? Who? You tell me. So it's like I sit down, I start talking, and I'm joking around. And dude, I'm pulling out because I practice stand up. I'm pulling out like some great off the cuff jokes, and like I'm like really getting like some funny material now that I have now written down is it's pretty funny. And then like they're still being aloof, and at this point they're kind of saying, what's wrong with you, man? Like, what's up? And but they're high, they've already smoked weed, so it's like it doesn't matter what I say. Like, what do they have to even say to me? But what I do, I take it down to a serious note, and I ask them a serious question about um there's a bill going around, or that just passed in Canada, called Bill C-16. And this bill, if you don't know about it, it it quite literally says that if somebody actually uh, catches you, or somebody hears you misgendering them, the person who is misgendered can actually prosecute you for a civil rights offense. And according to the Ontario Human Rights Commission, it says literally, if you literally read it, because they have all the information about it. Of course they will have to have a bunch of information on this. They said like whether it is intentional or not. This is verbatim what they said. Whether this is from the Ontario Human Rights Commission, whether it is intentional or not, misgendering somebody is advocating for genocide. And then I would say that's pretty extreme. That's a lot to say because logically you don't know what anybody identifies as. So if you so say, hey, miss, or say, oh, she's doing blank, or oh, he's doing that, you don't know what a person could actually identify under the gender spectrum. And so it could be anything. And so that's kind of crazy, you know? But that's, at least that's in Canada, not in America. Well, it's in New York. And LA is trying to get it also. So it's like, uh, you know, it might be rolling up on your your doorstep. Great. But you know, I proposed this question. Like, what do you? I asked the group. I asked the room. What do you guys think of this? And then everybody turned on me, and it was like, now imagine this. It's just me, one person against a good nine people, just debating a political situation about something that seems kind of clear, and they're they're making me out to be first an alarmist, and somebody who's just an extremist. Like they're like talking to me like, well, you don't know if anything's been done yet or anything, but something has been done. People have been prosecuted. People have been held by this bill. People have been already kind of just pushed for you know like not adhering to this, and like they're saying like there's no such thing as like hate speech. This guy who's a lawyer, who's like the who roommate of the friend who lives in the house that we visited, and he's kind of like he's kind of pulling this out and saying like hate speech, there's no such thing as hate speech, but that's not the point. The point is literally that if you if you don't know who somebody identifies with, then it's kind of ridiculous to say that you can go to jail or be completely fined and held in front of the Human Rights Commission for not even knowing somebody's personal decision. It's like it's asinine to me. But that's not what the room was feeling. The room was like, yo, it was crazy. The whole room was like at me. One person would say something, I would say something back. Another person would say like, "Hey, you're being ridiculous." I would say something back, and I was laughing. I was laughing so much because it was like, you guys cannot be serious right now. This is like no one can think for themselves right now. Everybody's calling me. I'm just like a automatically an extremist. Like seriously? Like doesn't this seem like alarming to you? And they're like, no, you're being ridiculous. And they're like, where's your evidence? And I just wish I remembered every single thing that happened regarding this thing. But I wasn't able to produce the evidence right then. And I wish I had it prepared. I wish I had every single statement that the Ontario Human Rights Commission pulled out, but I didn't. But still, logically, I didn't have to even have that because the law was already enacted. So you don't really need to have any evidence, any cases where somebody was already held to this like bill yet because it's already passed. So that means if somebody does and the situation is ridiculous, then you're gonna be like, oh, what do we do now? And you're like, well, the bill's passed, so you can't do anything. Oh no. And so, like, this is the antithesis of the situation. First of all, this is not my friend, who I still call my friend, who we visited at the house in DC. This now we're in DC. Like his roommate who's been like at me for a while. every time I would come to this house, to come to my friend's house, he would question me on things, and we would have like mini debates. But he's not very good because logic, he has this thing in confidence where he's like, trying to battle you, and he tries to have like an intelligent decision because I don't know what type of degree he's gotten, but I know he's within some type of military sector. So he has kind of like a prestige and education vibe coming from him, and then he uses that to like kind of point at you like his own like logic at you, but you don't need those specific banners to debate that. You could use literal logic, and we debated about a lot of stuff. And this time he did it. This is the second time he's done this, and he straight up says, this. Remember, this is the second time he says like, "Oh, you sound like a coon," and I'm like, I take that because I understand exactly what it is. He called me. He said he didn't want to call me a coon. He didn't want to say it to my face because he knew he was wrong to say it. And I remember saying in the last video that like, people say racist things to you, but they know it's wrong, so they'll do it anyway though. And so he calls me a coon, and I'm like, oh, well, he doesn't call me a coon. He says he didn't want to call me a coon, so he said, "You sound like a coon." But we're not talking about race, though. You know, we're talking about a gender bill. So what does race have to do with anything? And then, out of the blue, my friend, my Serb friend, from from for years ago, from ever since freaking middle school, we were friends. He chimes in and he says, "You sound like a KKK." And then I'm like, "Really? Really? Excuse me." Hmm? Oh, yeah. Because we're talking about a gender bill, all of a sudden, he doesn't want to call me that, but I sound like that's what I sound like. He's using the same logic. But the thing about it is, we're not even talking about race. So like what does racist groups have to do with this? And so I realized the situation that these guys were completely politically possessed. And you cannot even have a just even a conversation or a rational debate with them, and they're just completely gone. They've completely gone NPC. Completely NPC, man. And like I realized what happened in the room, and I was like just completely betrayed by everybody around me. And I realized then I was like, oh my god, I don't I don't have friends anymore. They're gone, like actually gone. And so like that was like an actual betrayal. Like I can see how Caesar felt. I can see how Caesar felt when Brutus was like, like he just put that dagger in his back, and then like, you too, Brutus, like word, like Brutus, I can't believe you, like what that felt because that Caesar, hey, that Caesar situation, that's a real historical thing that actually happened. So to one human being to another, I guess betrayal is always and is at the bottom of Dante's Inferno. Betrayal is the worst thing that can happen to you. And like I just, you know what I did? They kind of moved on. But in a minute or two, I just sat there for a good 2 minutes. I was sitting there. I took in everything. I took in the whole room, and I just sat there. And I was like, I can't believe this is what it's come down to. We can't even have a conversation. And I just got up and left. I was like, that's it. And then I went to work. I just got up, left, and started working. And that was the end of it. And I was completely done with them in that moment. And I never felt more confident because I was like, hey, I guess I don't need them because I'm not gonna succumb to like some type of faulty political opinion to to actually, if we're having a conversation about something political, you want to be even handed. You want to actually, you know, ad- address yourself, find out if you're wrong, find out if this person's right, see what's happening in the room, actually figure out where there's common ground. You don't just scapegoat to some type of one note thing of what you think is the worst thing a person can be. You don't just grab at that and just put it on the person when you don't disagree with them. You just actually have something to say back. And they didn't have anything to say back. So what they did is they just grabbed at the worst thing they can think of and they threw it in my face. But the thing about it was, especially the coon thing, that's like personal. That's saying you betray your own self. And it's like, wow. Okay, I get it. You know, I get what people. There's a guy, there's a professor, Jordan Peterson. He said, he said this would happen because this is exactly what happened to him. The first thing he did when he went against Bill C-16 is that they called him an alarmist and they called him alt right. And literally, that's what happened to me in real time. But the only thing that was different it happened to with my friends, with people who I trusted. And to have that happen to you and completely be betrayed like that, it's just devastating. It's like there is no one in this world that you can trust. Literally. It's like that's it. Who else do I got but myself now? And that's why I gained confidence because now I realized I had to function as an individual instead of like somebody with a group. I had to just go at it alone. And I was like, all right, that's the end of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That was just in you know what happened after Serbia man? Serbia man was like, are you okay? The next day. And I was like, are you okay? Like, really? Really? You're asking if I'm okay? Like, I was like, upset. But I worked after that. Like, nothing happened because that's kind of how I cut it off. I was just like, well, that's the end of this. Snip. I just moved on. It was like, it felt liberating. Like, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, if you ever feel like you're in like some type of like dysfunctional social circle, like address it, call it out, actually, actually, put your foot out there and find out what's wrong. And if there's something that's with them and they're not changing, then leave. And don't feel bad about it because it's not you. How can it be at the end of the day, these people aren't really willing to be honest and have some type of like, even handedness with their thoughts, and they're just going to be completely biased against you and completely tyrannical with you and make you seem out to be like a villain all the time now. It's like there's no point to actually continue a friendship with them. And that is actually the end. And eventually you will find different people. Because you know what? This is where I was figuring out. As I worked, because I do Uber and Lyft, as especially Uber, as I was doing Uber, the random people that I was meeting were treating me so much better. These people don't even know me. These people have no idea who I am, but they're like cheering me on in my studies, and they're cheering me on in my acting career, in my entertainment career, in my music career, and they're cheering me on. They would immediately just go to that. They're like, "Go ahead, you're gonna make it. You're gonna do something. I hope you are successful." And they don't even know me. Like hundreds of people would do that. Hundreds. Because I had a bunch of passengers. And like if random people are treating you better than your closest friends, there's something wrong here, man. Like actually. So like there's nothing else to say after that. I cut them off. And oh, there is something to say. Because after I did that, I didn't even realize it, but like during that time, man, I had so much like depression, and I was always sad because I felt just bad about myself. And the second I cut them off and not I didn't even contact them, took them off social media, all social media, every single thing, blocked them and everything. Like I was like super happy. I felt really happy for some reason. And I realized it was like, oh, it was because I was attaching myself so strongly to people who didn't actually even care about me at all. And that was taking a toll on me. And sometimes you don't even realize this. You're just kind of living life and you're socially attaching yourself to anyone, and then you don't even realize the people that you're socially attached to don't even have your best interests in mind in the first place. So you're already at your worst like attachment, I guess, circle, and you need to snap that off as soon as possible if you realize it, if you do realize it, because not a lot of people realize that, and then they become like, all stressed and they don't know what's wrong with their lives. And sometimes it's as simple as your friends. And you and I might need to just become an individual until you find better friends, because obviously if random people are being nice to you, nicer to you, there's better people out there. And there was, especially for me, there are better people out there for me. I Longer than I knew these guys in high school, I was friends with these other guys, and these guys, well, they, man, they're like at this point they're like family. That's how they treat me, and they're not even my race. They're like Korean, and they treat me like family. Like it's like a every time I would like during my high school years I would visit them and then hang out with my friends in high school, and then it'll be like something's missing here. Like these guys are treating me like a human being, and these guys are treating me like a caricature, like an actual caricature. Like I don't exist, and I'm just like some fun thing to just oogle at or just like talk about. It's just so weird. So I do stress if if I give out any type of advice in my entire life, is to just learn how to actually be an individual enough to realize that you can be on your own and actually strong. You can't actually, do that if you know that the people around you aren't, that good for you or even for themselves. And in proxy that might even affect you. Like that's it's so important and so important. So yeah, that's pretty much it.